edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm Kathy Beckman.
I'm Joseph Anthony.
And this edition of Down the Rabbit Hole is for October 29th through November 10th. So, do you have some things to talk about astrology?
Oh boy, do we have some things to talk about astrology. We have on Wednesday a new moon in Scorpio. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with Scorpio and what it represents, Scorpio represents transformation. It also represents finance. We've got several other planets right now in Scorpio. We've got Mercury, we've got Venus in Scorpio. So right now, people are, their consciousness is really on money and finance. And it has been for a while. But this new moon is about transformation. Is about seeing where the finances are, where the economy's going, and we clearly see that now. But our focus is going to continue to be on change. So this new moon will highlight new opportunities for change, new opportunities for investments, new opportunities for money, income, job, whatever. Anything associated with Pluto. But the one constant is this will be another month of change going into November, because it'll be, a full moon, a new moon is usually in play for about 3 weeks after it comes about. So the next 3 weeks we'll continue to have more changes in the financial realm, thoughts about money, and on a personal note, Scorpio represents sexuality and the deep part of ourselves. So there'll be more of a need to go deep within ourselves subconsciously. And in terms of sexuality, it always brings thoughts of former lovers and past lovers, and maybe a need to reconnect with lovers from the past. So.
Well, and as I always say, I never find it. It never ceases to amaze me how astrology, Western astrology and Mayan astrology are so interlinked. On October 29th, it's the next Trecena, of course, and it's Imix, which is open to new beginnings.
How about that?
All change.
How about
that? While we're on the subject, many of you probably recognize a date in there, and that's October 28th, and that's the end of the 16.4 billion year calendar as shared with us through Carl Kalleman's work. There's been a lot of controversy going on lately as to is 2011 really the end of the Mayan calendar? Is 2012 really the end of the Mayan calendar? Is Carl talking about the long count? Is he not? One of the things that I think we need to focus on with the Mayan calendar is what the Maya say about the Mayan calendar versus what scientists are talking about with the Mayan calendar. And the Maya themselves say, as far as the end of a long count calendar, they're looking for specific signs to know when that end is coming, and they haven't seen those signs yet. But if Carl's work has done nothing else than to bring an awareness to us about ethics, which was the 8th step, and a unity consciousness, which was this 9th and final wave, then I think his work has done a brilliant job. And now we find ourselves on October 29th with the beginning of not only a new Trecena, a 13-day period, but in some cultures it's also the beginning of a new 260-day sacred calendar, Zolkin calendar round. So it's really kicking it off, a whole new calendar round. And I did another video on a ceremony that you can do on Mondays as well.
Well, it's interesting you're talking about unity consciousness. I mean, unless you're living under a rock, you could see all the changes that have been taking place in the world just this year alone. And this is what Kalleman has been talking about the shift in consciousness. Look at all these Occupy movements. They're just springing up out of nowhere. We have them now in this country, as predicted by Kalleman, by myself and others, talking about how people were going to unite and become sort of aware. And the good thing is right now that they're all peaceful, because a lot of these people there understand that nonviolence will get you further than actually, acting up and so on and so forth. But we could see the consciousness shifting. Right. And those of us that are aware and will continue to be aware will continue this path of, just bringing more attention to the control mechanisms, realizing the fear, overcoming a lot of the lies that are being basically put out there. So what I think is also happening is that we are absolutely shifting spiritually, on a deep level.
Absolutely, and I think we also have to be cognizant that everybody is on their own path and shifting in their own frequencies and their own waves. So if there's people in your life that may not be coming on board as quickly as you'd like them to be, we all have our own destiny path to go along. And if you're perhaps talking about unity consciousness, or you're talking about the Mayan calendar or astrology, and people are looking at you like you have three heads, that's okay. They'll come along on your path. I know 10 years ago, I wouldn't be having this conversation at all.
Sure,
you know?
Sure. Just remarkable changes. And we also wanted to touch base about Elenin. Okay, very important, because when we originally did the presentation, we talked about Elenin and we were honest about it. There's not enough information. We're not quite sure. We're just putting out what we've discovered, and other people have looked into it as well. I know I have a few clients and friends that have sent me information regarding this body of energy. And as we see now that it did not hit the Earth, it did not affect us in any way, unless you want to count the earthquakes and some of that activity that's been taking place. And it's still, it's still in effect until what is it, November 17th or so, the alignments that we had. So we could see how Elenin was really, or is really, something that we weren't quite sure what it was, and we were honest about that, and a lot of other people weren't sure what it was. So we're seeing that fade out.
And what it might have done is also stirred up or shaken up a little bit of what was in each of us. The folks that were hanging on to a little bit more fear-mongering, I think what it did was it shook up a little bit of the fear inside of them, and sometimes that needs to happen to bring it to the surface. I know personally what Elenin did to me was it made me a much more decisive researcher. I would let a lot more information go by, a lot more blogs go by that I'd read and
Sure.
take as, not gospel, but I would take the credence. And now almost everything that I read on almost any subject, I am first looking at what the source of that is.
Absolutely.
And that's helped me with a whole variety of other subjects, not just Elenin.
Absolutely. And we have to remember here that what's actually happening is the powers that be, that basically been running the financial institutions, the societies, the media, the banking system, they know they're at a crossroads. We know we're at a crossroads where things have to change. And they're going to try really hard to continue to confuse the population. And I don't want to get into this Libya thing. We talked about that briefly. But if you do your homework, you will see that it's not what the mainstream media has been portraying.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe. But, just an example. But from this point on, like Kathy was saying, you've got to do the homework. Do not buy anything that mainstream media sells you, whether it's on the right or the left.
Well, and it's not just mainstream media. Just because it's on the internet does not make it so. There's a few resources, like if you see something sourced back to EU Times, delete it.
Yes.
Because most of that comes from, what's the name, Sosha Falls or something like that? I'll put the name up there. But there's a person out there that purposely puts out misinformation, disinformation to take you off what's really happening.
Exactly. So from this point forward, as we've been saying, the only constant is change.
Right.
Okay, so get used to it. Adapt. Be flexible. Don't sit there and go, oh my God. It's not the end of the world. It's the end of the world as we know it. Because these changes will affect all of us on some level, financially, emotionally, psychologically. So look at this time period as a chance, a new beginning, right? A chance to sort of experience something different. And I'm sure a lot of good will come out of this.
Absolutely.
Technology that's been hidden for 100 years or so, maybe even more. That's just one aspect of it. Maybe even a new financial system, which I hope to God is more, a fairer sort of system. But we all have to keep an eye on this stuff. We just can't say, oh, those politicians will take care of it. Yeah, they're good people. No. And so we have to pay attention, because now the world is waking up to the reality that is, we live on this planet. We're all one, one race on this planet, and that we must come up with a system that is more equal or fair. And each country will have to participate. And I'm not suggesting a new world order. but it has to be something that the people actually get involved in, you know, and just don't let other people, you know, trust other people with your life.
Absolutely. Well, and this Trecena that's coming up is bookended by two pretty important days. The day before this Trecena is October 28th, and there's a video that's out there, and Carl Kalman has actually shared it, where they're recommending that instead of the Occupy Wall Street or Phoenix or wherever, that you do your own Occupy movement, meaning that you occupy yourself, and you take the 28th as a day of meditation, sure, inner reflection, get off the internet, spend time connecting with source energy. So that's before this Trecena, and as I said, it goes to November 10th. So the day immediately following that is 11/11/11, and it's a one day in a Trecena. So we're looking at this Trecena, and like I say, it's bookended by two very important days. And this Trecena is, in some cultures, the beginning of a new 260-day calendar round, and it's a time to be open to new beginnings. So we have a day that we can kick it off with meditation and looking inside, occupy yourself, a time to be open to change, open to new beginnings, and then we've got 11/11/11, which
absolutely marks a new period.
Yeah.
And I just want to touch upon this real quick before we end it here. Next month we have a solar eclipse in Sagittarius on the 24th, okay? And solar eclipses are new beginnings, and they last usually from 6 months to a year afterwards. And it's interesting because with this new moon on the 26th, really the 27th, close to it, there's that transformation and then brings in something new. So next month, we will start to begin to feel like something new is coming in, or a new idea, a new concept, a new belief system, a new philosophy. So this year, really spend the rest of this year, which is only a couple of months, basically getting rid of anything that is not of any use to you. That's a belief system, an ideology, debt, you name it, property, whatever it is, just get rid of it.
it's a good time to clean out your house.
Exactly, and clean out your soul in a sense. And make way for a new year. The new year will start off with an amazing feeling of something new is in the air. So.
And aren't we all looking to that?
Yeah.
So until next time, I'm Kathy.
I'm Joe.
And until the next Down the Rabbit Hole.
See you soon.